There is a fifth dimension.
A dimension of sound.
Damn it, Frank! We tell him to be quiet. I spilled my hot cup of Uranus again.
A dimension of sight.
Hey, Arch. I'm gonna sock you in the puss.
A dimension of mind.
Nan Adams, is that you?
Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Fifth Dimension of Twilight Zone podcast. I am your host, Nick, as always. We're here to once again to talk the Rod Serling famous TV series that he created just for us three individuals to watch.
Yeah.
We are actually our year episode posted. It was awesome to talk about. We are actually recording on our year anniversary as of today, so it's a little kind of Twilight Zone-esque. So the episode posted today, which is August 30th, and we are recording on August 30th, so it's a little weird right now. And I'm a little tired because I saw some honk for Jesus. You know, it was good times.
Honk if you're horny.
Yep.
I know, right? Yeah, save your soul.
Honk if you're horny for Jesus.
Yeah, save your soul for a sub. You know, that type of thing. So.
Yep.
Or Jesus honk
any-
if you're horny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have video format on my YouTube channel of Movie Emporium.
Yay.
We also have audio feeds. They can include stuff like Audio Moon, Cups of Uranus, YouTube, Amazon Music, sometimes iTunes, and a whole bunch of other things. Maybe Google Play. I don't know. They can't decide what they really want in life. But
Can any of us?
Damn, son.
No. Yeah. So it's gonna be tonight. It's an interesting episode to talk about. So I'm gonna deflect a lot till we get to the episode. But no, thanks to Alex once again for coming on last week to talk the Night of the Meek. It was an interesting episode to talk about. She definitely busted some balls, which I really appreciate. Before they answer though, I do have to Well, no, I mean
I love it.
definitely
Though.
busted. Yeah. Jacob's like,
I have no balls to bust, so
we don't know.
Bust them. Bust it.
last time I checked, I don't.
You probably have bigger balls than we do, Triv.
Chesticles.
You mean purple testicles?
Purple
You have an
testicles.
anal raccoon, so things are.
Your
Twilight
anal
Zone.
raccoon has testicles.
I mean, possibly. I had never checked actually.
Testicles.
Hey,
They're in
anal
there.
raccoon, do you have testicles?
Yeah.
I think you were being goofy and don't talk for my anal raccoon. Who are you?
Talk through your anal raccoon.
Oh, geez.
Is that what that extra
The
cup
echo.
is for? Is for your testicles? Your
Mine? I don't think so.
Teabagging them.
Jesus. Wow, we've gotten off to a great start in this episode about dust.
Anal raccoon
Hey.
teabagging.
Coming
Hey,
soon
In your cup of
to
anus.
Discovery.
As the great Bill and Ted once said, dust,
Whoa.
wind, dude. There's your answer to an earlier question, by the way.
Okay, cool.
No, actually, I'd probably go with Wayne's World on that one. And for that
Wayne's
answer,
World.
go back in time in the
It's
Twilight Zone.
party time. Excellent.
So with that said, I am Nick. I am, of course, joined by the normal, well, somewhat normal in real life on the Twilight Zone is all kinds of weird, fucked up things. Jacob, who is not soldering things right now, but he's definitely staring at me with some weird white chesticle eyes. I don't know. I'm like,
He's got those high beams on.
I know.
Yeah.
All he needs is a tail and
Down
it'd be
here,
a wild
fellas.
night. At the,
Down here.
all you need is a tail and be a wild night in the fifth dimension. I'm telling you what.
Ooh.
And for some reason below me is
I
Trey.
do not below you.
I don't know what I found that so funny.
I kind of was waiting for someone to say it.
Jesus Christ.
No, because in the Zoom meeting, you were below me. You were literally.
jeez. I am not
beneath
below
me.
You know
you.
what this Zoom meeting? What was happening before I came in here? I'm always
I
late,
have-
people. So
I have no idea.
I don't know. Trip disappeared for a while, and then you came in, so now you're below me. So
Yeah. Oh,
no, this is how the hierarchy on the fifth dimension works, people. It's what you got to, you got to do what you got to do to make it in this world and work your way up.
yeah,
you
that's
definitely
true.
got to. You definitely got to do that one. So
You gotta do that one.
Do.
yeah.
Hey, I have my limits. Okay, blowing's one thing. Start talking about doing. I got
Shit.
standards,
Well, wow. You have, geez,
and
what
they're
does that
well
say?
below that.
So we're back. We're not talking about blowing or doo doo or anal raccoons or cups of Uranus. We're here to talk
Certainly
Twilight
sounds
Zone,
like we are.
people. We're trying to be serious people here.
Yeah, since when?
Ass, tits, penis, dick, vagina, sloppy joes,
Fucking content.
Yeah, exactly. We're
Fucking content.
real podcast people. We don't joke around on this podcast ever.
Nope. That's why you have a cartoon for a co-host.
I know, right? With a statue of a raccoon and a log, it's an anal raccoon. So with that said, we are talking what I would call a very depressing episode. Jacob is trying to make me not feel as depressed after watching this episode as I was, because we watched this together today because Triv decided she had to be an adult and work today.
Fine.
No, I'm kidding. So the episode is season 2, episode 12, which is called Dust, directed by Douglas Hayes, written by Rod Serling, featuring music by Jerry Goldsmith. Production code 1733653. Original air date, first episode of 1961, January 6th. Stars Thomas Gomez, who premiered Escape Clause, Vladimir Sokoloff, John Larch, John Alonzo, Paul Genge, Dorothy Adams, Duane Gray, and Andrea Darvi, who was actually in the last episode we talked about last week, which is The Night of the Meek. She played one of the little girls in that episode. So this episode I really don't know much about until I actually watched it, then I remembered it. And Jacob, I know you said the same thing, but Triv, let me ask you first. Do you remember this episode? And if you do, were you wanting to watch this episode? Because after I watched this episode, I'm like, do I want to watch this again?
I do not remember this episode, and I was trying to think back. I don't know.
That's the thing. Like, you remember this episode watching it, right? That's what happened to me.
No,
Like,
I don't remember this episode
Me
at
neither.
all.
There's a reason for that.
Really, I actually
Yeah.
remember this because of the not really. I don't know if this really has a twist in it, but it just has, has a moment. But it's one of those that
As a moment.
yeah. It's one of those episodes that I asked Alex last week. I said, "Do you remember this episode? And is it any good?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah, it's a Western episode, and yeah, it's fine. It's like middle of the road." So I'm like, "Oh, great, we have another one of those episodes."
At least it's not bad.
No,
Or at least
no.
she said it wasn't bad. We'll
I
get to
don't-
whether it's bad or not.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it didn't. I don't remember this episode at all. I'm sure I probably ran across it at some point, but like Western episodes have never really been my cup of tea. Like
Well, they're not really that good in the Twilight Zone. That's the problem. Like, have you?
there are a couple that are good, like, or at least they're set in the desert. So not that makes it a Western automatically, but it's
At
still
least
kind
they're
of.
in the desert.
Well, you know what I mean, though. It's like it has that kind of that Western town. It has horses. It has all that stuff. But do you classify it as a Western because of that, or what? Yeah, I mean, it's this one I would say qualifies as a Western because it definitely has all that stuff. Plus, you have like a grizzled sheriff and you have like a POS drifter and all that shit. But yeah, I mean, it was not when I remember it. Yeah, it was very middle of the road. But yeah, it's not bad by any stretch.
Well, I'm actually looking up Pace Magazine just to see where this episode lands.
It had a 6.9 on IMDb, which put it below like the lateness of the hour. Take that how you will.
I mean, I guess I kind of like this one a little bit better, but I don't know. This episode's weird because it feels like it is a Twilight Zone episode, but it doesn't feel like a Twilight Zone episode. It feels more like an episode about the shit we do and how. What's that? Yeah, it feels like that type of thing. Also, right underneath Trouble with Templeton, so we already know what our new number 48 is.
Nice. It wasn't that bad.
No,
At
it
least
really
knew what was
wasn't.
happening.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that, like, and not to say I don't think that Rod Serling rode trends per se, but I mean, back in the day, like Westerns were so big, both as TV shows and movies. I'm sure that to some extent it rode those trends.
That's
I
what
do
I said
know.
while we're watching it.
Oh yeah, 100%. And one
I
of
was
the things
actually
to note,
surprised that I'm sorry to cut you off, but
Sorry.
every Western Twilight Zone we've seen thus far, I'm not gonna say they're not terrible. They're just kind of I'm like, Westerns were. I think I mentioned that. I was like, Westerns were like really big back then. I'm kind of surprised the Twilight Zone just couldn't quite get the Western thing down.
Well,
Like,
don't you think that
it's
maybe
adequate?
Yeah, don't you think maybe though that they were trying to do something like take that, not to say flip it on its head, but take the setting of a Western and do something different with it because there was the market was so saturated.
They need
I
to
mean,
try harder.
that's kind of what I got from it. But the one thing I read in the companion that really stood out, the guy that directed this was known for doing like big, tricky like shots and over the top episodes. And this is an episode that was so minimalist in its approach
Yeah, I think
that it
that's the
was
problem. Like we're so used to like not everything's like gigantic like the Twilight Zone, but I guess there's a stigma or a appeal to the Twilight Zone that this episode doesn't have. And there's gonna be other episodes like the one about the lynching of the African American guy, or the one that's actually like revamped into a Twilight Zone episode from a short movie or whatever. And I don't know. This feels like Dead on Doomsday, where it feels like it's hard to explain. It's really a very barren episode.
it's a very
Dust.
minimalist. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
minimalist. But like, and they were talking about how like the sheriff was supposed to be a very strong dynamic character, and they really like flattened him down, and everyone in the episode is almost lethargic because they were
Yeah,
trying to go for that feel of this is a miserable town. This town is dead. There's literally nothing there. They are like dust.
I thought it was going to deal with racism because they kept like,
Oh
the
yeah,
guy's like
Yeah,
Mexican.
Sykes is yeah.
he's
Yeah,
just
and,
a
like,
piece of shit.
They kind of lean into that for a minute, and I was like, oh, is this going to be like a racism or segregation or something like that, or but nope, didn't go there.
No, not remotely. It seems like it wanders a bit. Like it doesn't quite know. Like obviously, you're following the story of this guy that was justifiably punished or justifiably sentenced to guilty, and then he was going to die because of what he did. But beyond that, like the stuff around that core piece, it just kind of like wanders.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird. I mean, I guess getting
There was
into the
something it
episode-
did that I really liked, but we'll talk about it in a little while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it the dustiness? You love the dust.
There was a lot of it. There's no
The
doubt
dusty
about
crusty.
that. But yeah, the
Um,
thing was like with Sykes, he was such a big part of the episode, but yet he wasn't like until that second part. He just kind of there.
Yeah, this is a dick. He's just
Oh,
a
yeah,
dick who
absolutely.
showed up. I'll tell you what,
What is
who
this?
did show up early and quick though. Hot Rod, he jumped into this thing quick.
Yes, he did.
I
I did like the way that
um,
they
rolled
introduced
right
him,
in.
though. Like they did a great job with that.
Oh,
What
with
is
the hanging
this?
when it fell down.
Yeah.
I don't
Dust
know,
is
we
ranked
can't-
over the invaders. What is this?
What?
Yeah, shut up.
What is this?
Lying bastard.
Perchance
Dust
a
is ranked
Dream is the
over-
greatest episode ever.
Oh
Dust
Jesus.
is rated over Monsters Are Due on Maple Street.
Yeah.
What is this?
Never. That would never happen.
Ooh, 16
Um,
millimeter shrine is better than the Monsters Are Due on Maple Street.
Oh,
Gasp.
man.
So let's actually get into the episode. No, okay. So, anyways, with that said, this episode opens up literally into a Rod Serling narration, which I think we were both like, "What the hell is going on?" I'm like, we're so
Damn.
confused. But yeah, let's do the opening narration. 10 seconds or 1 second into the episode.
Yeah. There was a village built of crumbling clay and rotting wood, and it squatted ugly under a broiling sun like a sick and mangy animal wanting to die. This village had a virus shared by its people. It was the germ of squalor and hopelessness, a loss of faith for the faithless, the hopeless, the misery laden. There is time, ample time, to engage in one of the other pursuits of men. They begin to destroy themselves in the Twilight Zone. He didn't say in the Twilight Zone, but I felt as if it was needed there.
Yeah, it was weird that it cut off. That's got to be one of the few episodes that doesn't have in the Twilight Zone in the open.
Well, I have noticed that actually there are quite a few.
Oh, are
there
there?
are some of them that mention it. It is very much more common for him to say in the Twilight Zone or something to that effect at the end of the closing. But there are some in the beginning where he doesn't There's more in the beginning that he doesn't say it than the end. But still, that one just seems like it was setting it up to say in the Twilight Zone, and nope, didn't say it.
Interesting.
Off your game, Rod.
Okay, and I will
Maybe.
say, based on the opening prologue, I was expecting, I don't know, like a town of, a pit of sin and villainy levels, and
Destitute.
yeah, 100%. Like, I don't know, and maybe it's just like, he's so good with words, and maybe it was just on me. Like, I had an expectation of what to expect based on that, and it just wasn't that.
It's just the universal backlots.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and not even that, but there was just, everybody was just like,
This life sucks. Everything
Yep.
here sucks. It's
we
dry,
lost our daughter.
dusty.
Go
Yeah.
away.
Oh,
Yeah.
Are you an angel? What? An angel? I hear the
Are you
deep
an
space. That's what I thought of the kid, man. Like,
Space pirates.
hey, yeah, I hear the deep space pirates talking about you.
nice.
But yeah, this episode's dark. Like dark and legit, like crazy ways. Like they test out the hangman's noose and stuff like that with a heavy stack of I don't know, cement or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Kind of to test it to make sure that it'll break his neck when it falls.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, that if we think about like what 60s television was doing, this was definitely not what they were doing in the 60s. They were not doing testing the noose or
I don't know about that. I feel like there would have been a
beginning.
Yeah, I feel like there would have been a fair amount of that back then. Like you look at the movies of that era. I mean, outside of maybe like the John Wayne ones, I feel like you would have seen at least some of that.
Yeah, I guess movies maybe, but TV. Do you think they really kind of outside of the Twilight Zone? Do you really think they showed this kind of stuff?
I would say testing out a noose. I mean, I would say so. I mean, the 60s weren't. I mean, they weren't like Bonnie and Clyde levels of shoot 'em up per se, but I don't think they would have. Well, maybe it would have been that would have been too early for that, but I feel like there would have been some of it in TV. Maybe I don't know. I can't say that one way or the other. I feel like there would have been some of that though, because westerns were so ingrained in the culture. They would have looked at a noose or a gallows and gone, that's bad people are hung from those.
Yeah, and we're introduced to Sykes, who is this portly fat man who, of course, like I said, played the devil in Escape Clause. He has, I mean, if you think about it, if you actually listen to it, he has the same laugh. It's like,
True.
I should have known that from just his laugh, but he's like he's a con artist. He's a dickhead. He's a douchebag. He's
snake oil salesman.
Yeah, he's all kinds of just terrible.
They made him look really ugly though too. Like he
nice
looks nasty,
Yeah, he looks like a guy who hasn't had a bath in like a year. I mean, he just looks. You don't even want to touch him. You just want him to go away. But
his stubble looks like it's trying to escape his face.
Exactly.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's literally like, save me. They just like can't escape and shit. But he's a guy that makes a lot of commentary, or a lot of commentary. He makes commentary about this guy named Gallegos or whatever his last name is, who is basically in jail for being drunk on a horse carriage and killing a kid, which is, I must say, I was not expecting to go into this episode about a guy who's getting ready to be hung, and there's a portly, oil salesman, snake salesman, and this guy is going to be hung for killing a child. I mean, we're already off to a good start, people. It's very much a I joked to Jacob. I said, man, this guy is like apparently because the way he talks to the kids and stuff like that, I'm like, this guy is the precursor or grandparent to Nightmare as a Child guy, that type of thing. But I don't know if Rod Serling was like, you know what, January we're gonna start with a bang and just go completely depressing and just have a guy that's gonna be there. I mean, I don't know if
he's
you
jolly.
Scare...
You got to give him that.
Well,
everybody else in the town is morose as fuck, and he's just like, everything in life's a joke. He walks in there like laughing at the sheriff, and he looks over at the guy. And he's like, "Oh, who are you? Oh, I know who you are. Today you're gonna get hanged."
Yeah, he goes off on him for a bit. It's like, dude, just
kind of a dick. And he calls I'm pretty sure he called the sheriff Mr. Cunt. I can't remember the sheriff's actual name because that's all I can think is there's one part he goes, Mr. Cunt. I was like, did he just say that?
No, actually, it reminded me like the whole town is Lieutenant Dan, and Sykes is Forrest Gump. So
Quite
they're like New
possibly.
Year's Eve, and Forrest Gump's like having a good time, and Lieutenant Dan's like miserable in a wheelchair.
You got magic legs, Lieutenant Dan.
Do you want some ice cream?
Ice cream, Lieutenant Dan, ice cream. But let me ask you guys what you think of this. Like, I'm going off about how I think it's depressing, but like, he talks to Koch and stuff like that, and Koch is a very one note, very flat developed character. He just doesn't really have himself there. I just like there's nothing to his character. But like watching this, this is when the pig that sells trinkets at a funeral pops up. But what do you guys think about this? Like, I mean, how do you feel about like such a dour, dark, depressing episode? I mean, I kind of know what you think, Jacob, but like just overall, what do you guys?
Oh, do you?
What do you guys think? I guess I don't. No, tell me, like, how does this episode make you feel?
Oh,
Raccoon
sorry.
Theater.
I thought you were going for sir. I apologize. I it took a long time to get to the second half of this, and I guess, like I said before, it was slightly discombobulating because, like, it didn't really. You're following this guy that killed a kid, and clearly he's going to be hung, and he's being taunted by this just complete waste of space of a person. It just. I couldn't see where it was going, and not that with Twilight Zone you need to see that, but I had a hard time understanding like what they were going for, and it just lacked a direction. But having said that, I think it was well put together generally. Like everyone played the roles well. Yeah, I don't know. Like I still, even having watched it, I look at it, I'm not sure what to think about it at this stage in the thing.
Well,
If that makes sense.
Oh yes, it does.
Does it? Does it make sense?
Yes.
You can't handle the truth.
I can't. You're right. Screw you.
I'm with you just on pretty much everything here. This starts out depressing as shit. And like you got a kid who's been killed. You see the parents walking through the street all depressed going to like bury her. You see this guy over here who as we find I don't think we mentioned he got drunk. And he more or less got drunk and got in a car or horse and carriage and ran over this kid. He didn't mean to. He doesn't come across as like a bad guy. He's just a guy who had too much to drink one night and made a bad decision. And he's he is real bad, but he's having to pay for that. He this snake oil salesman coming in, being a douche. He's like the only lively part of the town. Everybody in this town is so down in the dumps and morose. I am assuming because of what's happening that day and what has transpired with this child. I don't know how long ago it happened, but because this kid was killed.
I would say even if the kid's not killed, and it would still feel like that. This just feels like a town somewhere in the 1800s, early 1900s that just is dealing with maybe like the depression or something like that, and it's just not going well. I mean, it's a movie called it's an episode called Dust, and there's more to it than just the dust that the Sykes gives him, but it just feels
everything
like
there
dust
sucks.
Yeah, everything is dusty and disgusting. And
one thing that this really reminds me of, if you guys ever saw like early Clint Eastwood westerns, like The Pale Rider and things like that, like the town feels very like that. And I think those came out in the 70s. I think
the 60s.
Did they come out
and
in the 60s?
70s?
Right.
Like the Sergio Leone Dollars
they're all the 60s.
trilogy were the 60s.
Those and like Pale Rider and like that whole like his whole early catalog.
Yeah.
This reminds me
spaghetti westerns.
Yeah,
Three
this
Amigos,
reminds
too.
me. Yeah, this reminds me very much of that, or like Unforgiven if you want a more modern context. Like,
Well, that actually takes me to something I did like about the episode. The sheriff. I've heard, I think both of you guys, and I think you said even the companion said that like he was supposed to have a bigger part or something, or like a more integral character, and he just comes across as kind of bland. I liked the sheriff because I thought he was different from what we usually get in these Western sheriff archetypes that we usually get. They're usually really stoic and just kind of badass. Nothing phases them, and they're the hero types and all that. And like when somebody does bad been done, I'm finna do good, and there's just no regrets about that. You the bad guy, and I don't give a
Yeah,
shit.
he
That
has
you're being
a
hung.
he actually has a heart, a little bit of a
Yeah,
heart.
he's
Yeah.
like all like depressed and shit about it, and real upset, and just like
Yeah.
even though he knows, this guy killed a kid, and that's terrible. It's not cool that he did that. That's a terrible thing. He's never justifying that, but I get the feeling that he's still upset because someone's life is going to be taken today, and he's going to essentially. I don't think he's the executioner so much, but he is going to have to facilitate this man losing his life. And I think he's kind of like, I don't want to kill somebody. I mean, and I think that's probably, besides psychopaths, probably a sentiment that could be felt across the board, even in the Old West. I don't think human beings, as a general rule, relish taking life from other human beings, regardless of what the situation is. And I mean, we see that in some of in media about like Westerns and stuff. They just like, bad guy, pow, pow, pow. There's never any remorse about having to take life, even if it is from a bad person. And this guy's not a bad person. He just made a really bad decision that had really bad consequences. I like the fact that it shows the sheriff, like when the guy comes in there, he's laughing and he's all like, ha, ha, ha. See, yeah, child killer, he's going to die. And he's just like, the sheriff's like, this isn't a day that I'm not one to celebrate.
Right.
This is not a celebratory time. I am not happy about that. I do wish they had delved into that a bit more. I think that's what they were going for, and I picked up on it. I think most people would pick up on it, but it seemed like an interesting piece they could have kind of gone a bit more into and shown that this guy is not that. He has a respect for life, and he doesn't want to take someone's life, regardless if they did a bad thing or not. I thought that was pretty cool because we usually don't get that. Now, I mean, the rest of the episode, everything that came for it, yep, I'm right on with you guys. It's just kind of dusty, crusty town. Everybody is depressed as shit. Yeah, there's not a lot going on in that first half, and it does take a while to get to the second. I don't even know if there is a second half. It just kind of happens. This whole episode just kind of fucking happens.
It does.
And then there's an end. There's like the whole episode and then the end. It's not a second half. It's just the end. the last part that happens when all the things happen in the end. Everything leading up to that is literally just that. It's just lead up. It's like this guy in a jail cell and everybody's like heckling him and feeling shitty about life all around. And then a thing happens.
I mean, to be fair, I would say, to be fair, the one thing that is good about the sheriff is he is in fact near. So I gotta give him that.
Also, they were saying that John Larch, the guy that played the sheriff, came in with actually quite a lot more energy, and like you said earlier, was going to play the sheriff much stronger. But Hayes had him play the sheriff with no energy at all, which represented the listness of that town a little bit more. So, I mean, it kind of represents, like, if you look at it that way, you could almost see him as kind of like the heart of the town, where he's trying to be better, but he can't.
There's no hope. There's no hope in this town.
Exactly.
It's just
when your daily fun is someone hanging, you really is no hope. All they need is
the village had a virus shared by its people. It was a germ of squalor and hopelessness and loss of faith.
But again, that whole thing, the way that's described, I still, and I know I said this already, but like the idea that it wasn't like, just that doesn't reflect like what's going on in the thing. When you think squalor, you think like a town with no morals, people running rampant, people being killed all over the place. And then you get the sheriff that's just completely done. He, got the position from whatever.
Why?
I don't know.
Is that's the thing is why is this town this way? Because I don't think it's just because this child was killed. It seems like Nick said it would have been this way anyway. Why is this town so full of hopelessness and squalor and loss of faith and misery laden, as it said? It really drives it home in that opening. But why? Is it just the times? I mean, I guess that would have been kind of
it could be like a
sucky time to live.
I mean, it could have been too. It was just like, like maybe it was post, and obviously not necessarily, but it could have been like a post gold boom or gold rush town where like anyone who could leave or had the money to leave did. and then it left behind all the poor schmucks that didn't have the means to be able to leave, and the town is just dying. It could be that.
Before the railroad came through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or whatever it might be. But that, I don't know, that's all. I mean, if you go by classic Western tropes, that would be one thing that would maybe cause it to be that way. But yeah, it didn't feel like there was a reason outside of this poor kid getting killed. And like you say, it would be a reason to be very sad, especially if it's a close-knit town, but that can't be the only thing. Because the way, when we get further down the way that the townspeople are, they're like almost thirsty for vengeance and blood and all that stuff.
It feels like there is no hope. It feels like they need like a freeway or something to get them down. They need Judge Doom or something like that to wipe out, the Toontown or something like that.
Bring in the dip.
They just need to. Oh my God! It's dip.
It's dip.
Oh my God!
I just watched that the other day too.
They're eating him, and then they're gonna eat me. Oh my
God!
Oh
my God!
But no, like most of this act, moving on from like crazier things, it's a lot of back and forth. We're introduced to the grandfather and the daughter of Galagos, and there is some like there's some tragedy here because the daughter is gonna end up not really seeing, but her father is gonna be hanged. The grandfather's pleading. Sykes is like making fun of him. They throw a rock at the grandfather who's trying to raise some sympathy. It's really about like the mistakes we make. Like it could be something serious, but it feels like we do something and then nobody cares, and you have like the family members who are affected by this. And what Galagos did is like it's a tragedy, but he didn't do it like what's that word called, viciously or whatever. He did it by
maliciously.
accident. And maliciously, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And like the way he gets treated makes the ending much more a little potent, I guess you could say, than what it would be if like they didn't do what they did. But they try to go up to the parents who are grieving their little daughters in a casket being taken to burial, which I thought was a very effective scene, to be fairly honest, because you feel like it feels real. That's what this episode actually does very well, is it feels real. It doesn't feel fantastical until like the very end, but it feels like a real situation that you could have seen happen in the 1800s, like or 1900s, whatever this takes place in. And Sykes offers like magic dust to the grandfather in return of 100 pesos, and just to watch him kind of laugh about it. This character gets like a weird turn at the end, but it's like you watch that kind of stuff happen. I know Jacob's, I'm sure I'm forgetting something because I forgot the pig that sells trinkets at funerals. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Like the grandfather's he's doing everything in his power to help them, and then the little kid comes up and that whole situation happens, and he says, "You never been drunk before, you never felt such pain, and that you ride through and drink too much and stuff like that." And there was another episode that deals with like drinking too much and stuff like that. But all this stuff is transgressing through this episode, and it just, I don't know if I totally understand what they were going for, but I understand like the tropes and the character arcs and stuff like that. They really feel like legit, real human emotions. That's what this episode's strength is. Even though this episode isn't what I would call the greatest, you really sit down and you think about everything that's happening with every single character, and there's true human emotion coming through these characters. Even the little kid going, "Are you going to be hanged?" And he says, "Yes." "Is it going to hurt?" I mean, that's what kids ask. I mean, kids wouldn't ask, "Are you going to be hanged?" But if they're in this situation, they might ask that question. I don't know. Jacob, you have kids. I mean, do you see something like this happen? Yeah. No, they're like,
definitely,
"Dad, are you going to be hanged?" I'm like, but they ask like questions like this because it's a realistic approach to what kids do. Kids are non-biased when they come to ask questions like this. It's fucked up what kids do, but it's what the realistic approach is to a kid. So I mean, what do you guys think about that? Like the fact
kids
that it feels
ask malicious questions non-maliciously or unmaliciously.
Yeah,
they ask things without malice that come across. Like if an adult asked these things that bluntly, we'd be like, "What the fuck?" But they're kids, so they don't get it. So
yeah,
they're just inquisitive. They're just asking questions that
I mean, this
other
kid,
people
this
would be
kid's
like, tact.
you'd be
Learn it.
slapping the back of the head.
Yeah.
I mean, at least this kid isn't Percival Smithers, you know. He's
Yeah.
just like,
Percival Smithers, are you being hanged? Will
it's
it
gonna
hurt?
hurt.
I hope so. Perhaps I can be hanged and get another front name.
But no, like in all honesty, like
Think
all this
about
stuff that's no, honestly, like everything that's happening here with like the real true human emotions, stuff like that. I mean, even though it's a very dour episode, you gotta admit it's pretty impressive when, like I said, when Rod Serling is writing something and it feels very real. I keep saying
Yeah.
real, but it feels very like humanistic, and I think that's what he's going for. He's going for the humanistic approach of, you know, the way we feel. Like this is how Rod Serling writes. This is what his whole entire series is based off of, is the things and consequences of actions people take, and like the way we respond to like human characteristics and emotions and stuff like that. So I mean, Triv, I know you were getting ready to say something, so I'll let you go ahead and talk.
Feels grimy. It doesn't feel like, oh, we're gonna put on these, freshly ironed costumes and call it good. Like their clothes were filthy, especially Luis's shirt and stuff at the end. It was just nasty as hell. And like you look at Sykes, and he's just like, he's sweating and he's just like grody and just blah.
Everybody's hot.
Yeah, everybody's hot and bothered, but
basically-
not a fun hot and bothered.
So it's set in Miami. That's what we're going
Well,
with.
no, it's set in the Southwest, I'm
Selma.
sure, but yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. But I think too, like the grandfather, as he's pleading, he does elicit that response. You can see the actor who's playing him puts everything into that role, and like he is hoping beyond hope that he can plead his son's case.
I got a
And
question
well,
about that. When we first meet this character, which I think the guy did, I was going to actually mention, I really like how you're getting to, is he the father. I like how the episode shows like both sides of it. You've got this person that we're not supposed to sympathize with at first, who did this terrible thing, but then the father, we see his family come up, and you're like, oh, his family, regardless if he did this bad thing or not, they still love him and they don't want him to die. So yeah, that's great. But why does he need the little girl to tell them his thoughts on what's going on when he clearly can speak very good English?
Well, here's what I think happens. I think they're actually speaking Spanish, but in order for us to understand, back in the 60s, they just have them speak English. So I think it's like we're hearing English, but it's like, the TV show with like the aliens, and they're like, oh no, we've learned, the Simpsons, like with the King and Kodos are like, oh no, we're speaking a different language, but you can understand us because our languages are similar or something like that.
You think?
But I think
my assumption with that is that the father or the grandfather might be able to speak it, but he may get his words mixed up, whereas the granddaughter would be more fluently could speak more fluent English. So if he screws up,
tell me I'm wrong.
Yes, in this case you are.
Can we also talk about how the granddaughter looked like she gave no fucks if this guy died today or not? He was just like, he said,
well, she already got her Christmas gift from like the real Santa guy. I mean, she's living high on a horse. She's living high on life. Who cares?
I'm assuming that's his son's daughter then, or niece. So that's either her father or her uncle who's about to be killed. Now I'm assuming they all live together, given the circumstances of this town. She just don't give a fuck. She's like, whatever. I mean,
remember,
saving
she
her
has
dogs.
a toy gun, Jacob.
Santa's bringing me a gun tomorrow, so do what you're gonna do. I mean, I'm doing what I'm gonna do. Okay,
Exactly.
So I have a quick question. So when they threw the rock at the grandfather, did anyone just go Jehovah, 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 Jehovah?
Can't say I did.
No one did that. No one thought about Monty Python. Was it Life of Brian?
Life of Brian,
throwing
yeah.
rocks. Yeah. I don't know why I thought that, but I was starting to laugh to myself.
Well, your brain went to a good place, so I appreciate that.
But no, like, yeah, like the human emotion stuff is pretty prevalent. I think it's done really well, and this kind of like Jacob said, seeing it from both sides, and what this guy did is not, it's not forgivable, but it's just like you understand that sometimes the people that cause the biggest tragedy aren't necessarily bad people. It's just an accident. They happened and they made a mistake, and I don't know.
Even if he was, though, even if he was a bad person, part of me wants him to have been a bit more of a bad person. Maybe not like straight out evil, but just so, because I think that would have been even more impactful as far as like the family goes, because the dad coming up and just pouring his heart out, and please don't kill my son, please don't kill my son. It's like, I think that really, that said something. It's like, we generally, when we talk, like, you have people like, I mean, he's the worst of the worst, like Ted Bundy or something like that. I mean, what about his family? They were probably like, oh my God, even though he's done these terrible things, he's still our son, my son, or my whatever, I don't know, grandson, whatever. So I still care about them. I cannot change that. I still care about my child or my kin. So I thought that was a neat dynamic to see the criminal's family sitting there and give him some screen time, well, quite a bit of screen time, trying to pour out. So even if you don't sympathize with the guy who did this thing, you sympathize with his family. So I thought that was a neat. I don't think that necessarily. I think they executed the grandfather or the father, his performance, and had him up there. I think they executed that well. I don't think they executed the whole thing. I think they could have done more with a lot of these things we've been talking about, like with the sheriff, or with that dichotomy of the criminal and the criminal's family and all that stuff. I think that they could have done more with that, and they just didn't. They had a lot of stuff there they could have played with and actually made this a much more impactful episode. And they just said, nah, not good to shitty town.
Yeah.
They also, I thought it was interesting, like, we hear early on about how in the prologue how hopeless the town is and how it's squallery and all that stuff. And then the grandfather kind of goes into how, people drink because they're so hopeless and everything. That kind of it was a cool reinforcement of it, of like the town, like it was kind of the living embodiment of what the town was.
Yeah. Right. He even says, have you never drunk too much? To the sheriff.
Yeah.
The sheriff's like, I did this morning. Because he already looks fucking drunk.
And this afternoon. Oh, and I just popped
I am right now. Look over there.
And we know Sykes was a freaking alcoholic.
Yeah.
The way he was down in that bottle at the start.
At least he was a happy drunk,
Yeah.
You gotta give that guy that much. He was happy. Everybody else was like miserable.
He was happy. His beard was trying to escape, though.
Yeah. He's a sleazy.
Sorry, I already said that.
Well, for the act break, he pulls the little girl aside. And this is where I said this must be the grandfather to the guy in Nightmare as a Child, but he tells her about this magic dust that can turn hate to love. And he, at first I'm like, maybe there's something to this. Maybe this is why this is a Twilight Zone episode. But then he starts laughing as he tells her, bring 100 pesos, which I think it was like 27 cents or something like that in America. It's just, I guess maybe good for 1960, but for 2022 it'd be like $1.50 or whatever.
There's a lot of freaking gold pieces, though.
Yeah, it was.
I want 5,000 pesos, which is like $2.
All right. But he drops. He has some stuff. I don't know what this whole point was, but he has stuff in this little satchel thing that he has. He dumps that out and he puts dirt in there. So
I assumed it was probably tobacco.
Was it?
Or something like that. Not that you dump out tobacco per se, but like, if you're rolling your own cigarettes, and that's kind of the pouch that they carried in a lot of old Westerns. So that was my assumption. Or like a pipe, like I guess tobacco for a pipe, or if you're gonna roll your own or whatever.
So how many? What wasn't it 100 pesos?
Yeah, he probably threw out 600 pesos worth of tobacco.
Yes,
it's $4.97.
But remember, back in the old Western times, for like a dollar was a fair amount of money.
$4.97 is probably like $100 now. I get
probably
maybe not that much. This is a lot. This is a lot more than it is now. $4.97 now is like the fuck.
Can't even rent a movie for that.
I know, right?
And right now, 1,961 pesos is $97.
Jesus.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's the end of the act. It goes the act break as Sykes is laughing, and we've been kind of talking about this episode just in kind of how we feel about it, but they kind of swing back around. Like, what do you think? Like, where this episode started, where it is at this point, and what your preconceived notions of where it was going to head. Did you have any idea where it was going to head, or do you just go, yeah, they'll probably drink more, they'll probably be depressed more? Like, what do you guys think?
I figured there was going to be a hanging party or a news
Hanging.
party.
We're gonna hang him. We're gonna have a hanging, like that Ren and Stimpy
Woo!
episode
No, the
where
first-
they try and hang Ren, and he's too light, and he flaps around in the wind, and Stimpy has no neck, so they just have it like around his mouth and his nose.
The first half of this, like I say, I'm of two minds about this. There was a lot of good depth, there was a lot of good acting. Part of it though, I didn't know where it was going, and again, as previously stated, you don't need to know exactly where it's going, but I didn't feel like there was direction outside of the obvious event of, the fact that the guy was going to hang. Like, that was kind of the only thing that we knew, and that the one guy was a complete jerk face. It moved slow. Like, it seemed like it took a long time to make it through that first half.
Yeah, because it takes the twist, or whatever you want to call it, twist. Usually you get it about this time. It doesn't happen until the very end of the episode, like literally 2 minutes or about 5 minutes before the episode ends. So it's very untraditional for Rod Serling.
The first half I thought it's not even the first half. Like I said, it's like the whole fucking episode, except for like the final 5 minutes. Not even 5 minutes, like 4 minutes. There's the first 20 minutes, and then there's the last 4. But like, I mean, it was fine. It was just really, it took a long time to get to the end because nothing's really happening. Okay, we established this guy, he killed this kid, and he's gonna be hung. And then there's magic. The guy says, hey, go get some magic dust, and he dumps it out, and blah, blah, blah. I didn't really see why he needed to dump out. Was it tobacco?
I'm assuming tobacco, yeah.
Okay, I thought he already had some sand in there for some reason, dumped it out. I was like, are they just showing us this? So, yeah, that makes more sense. If it's tobacco, that's why he dumped it out. Okay.
Or it was something like that. It wasn't, what he put in. Yeah.
I mean, as soon as he did that, I did know. I was like, okay, it's going to actually be magic, or some type of magic thing is going to happen. I'll tell you what, it would have surprised me if we got to the end and it didn't do shit. It was just there. I would be like, that's the
all
twist.
Of a sudden,
the twist
there's
is
like
there is no twist.
All of a sudden, there's like a massive orgy that goes down.
Yeah,
Love Fest 1897.
There is no twist.
I was waiting for this to be a prequel or a sequel to what was that, Execution?
Dick to phone.
I was just waiting for the
Dick
to phone.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't. I mean, it was the middle of the road. Honestly, it wasn't bad. I mean, I thought everybody did fine, but there was nothing in it that just like blew me away. It was just kind of like, okay, I wasn't bored out of my mind, but I certainly wasn't blown away, or I wasn't just like thinking this was the greatest. It was just kind of middle of the road. Like, things are happening. Let's see what happens in the end. And that's where I was. I mean, I wanted to like it more. There were things, like I said a few minutes ago, there were opportunities I kept seeing that they could have made this much more thought-provoking and have more substance, and they just didn't. It's like they kept on setting things up. You have this sheriff, he could be deeper, but no, never mind. And then you have the dad, and this could be a deeper thing where we see, nah, fuck that. And I'm just like, you keep on throwing all this stuff out there. You have the daughter's family, and just nothing. It just kind of, every opportunity it had to do something wow, it just didn't. At least it wasn't bad up to this point.
I mean, that pretty much leads into the second act, which is Jacob has alluded to. Basically, Koch asked Galagos, basically, when the Earth was finished being made, it should have been made in 5 days, which I think is very telling. He's like, maybe that 6th day was just too much for people. They just couldn't handle it. So the 6th day, they're just like, you know what?
I like that. I did like that.
Yeah.
Where he said, when did you make it, man? 6th day? He should have stopped at 5.
Right. He's like, we were so perfect at 5. And then it's like Top Gun Maverick when he's like, he finally hits like the Mach 10. He's like, I'm just going to push it a little bit further. And then it just blows up in the plane and, lands in the middle of nowhere. It's that type of thing. It's just like, maybe we just went a little too far. they went to Plaid and they go past the Lone
He's
Star.
gone to
Plaid.
ludicrous speed.
They've gone plaid.
But no, this is when the kid asks, like, is it the rope thing and will it hurt, which is pretty interesting. But the crowd's getting ready to lynch Galagos, and then of course the grandfather comes in. He's running in like I don't know why, like one of the Looney Tunes, like he's like running towards Sykes, who finds, I guess he decides he wants to have a alone time with the grandfather in a room, so he brings him into
Yeah,
the
that was
room
weird. He's like, "Come
yeah.
on, come here, little boy."
Well, and the thing
Come in
was,
here. I got
they're
candy.
planning on hanging him, and it's like they're doing the prayer thing and stuff, and Sykes doesn't seem like he wants to make the sale, because he's like, come with me to the Casbah, and he keeps drawing him back further and further, and it's like, you want to sell this or not? Because by the time you sell it, you're gonna have a dead customer on your hands.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you watch a movie or something like that, and they like don't kill them right away. You have like the guy I can't remember which movie it is, but they're like, just fucking kill him already. It's like
Any James Bond movie.
Well, that yeah.
I was thinking Blazing Saddles, where like the horse and the guy are hanging, and the execution guy turns around and goes, "Oh, they're totally crazy!" And
but no, the grandfather pays. He's like, the Sykes goes, "Where'd you get all this gold from?" He's like, "Oh, we sold a bunch of
15
horses."
Wiener Schnitzels is my limit.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyways, Sykes asked the grandfather where he got all this gold at. He's like, we sold a bunch of shit or whatever. So Sykes gives him the fake dust. He laughs as he eggs on the grandfather, who runs off to the crowd. And the grandfather just starts throwing the dust everywhere. And I have to bring up this shot of Sykes walks into the shot, like he just somehow appears. It's like a really weird way.
He pulls a Rod
filmed it.
Serling.
Yes,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
much.
He walks on. I expect him to do the closing.
But basically, nothing's happening. Galago's about ready to be hung, and the dust
Pay
isn't
heed to the
working.
magic. Pay heed to the magic. It is for
Right.
love. It is for love.
The parents, the girl's parents, the one who was killed, is just they're kind of standing there, and all of a sudden they decide, we're gonna hang him, and you hear the thing drop, and all of a sudden you hear a snap, and Sykes goes, "Ooh," doing the Tim Allen thing. "Ooh."
Dun, dun, dun.
And we find out the rope snapped, and Galagos is alive, and that's the Twilight Zone twist, is because Sykes even says it was a brand new rope. Like, what the fuck? Like, how cursed is this town where they can't even hang a guy? It's like God and religion or whatever. And then they ask the parents, they're like, do you want him to be hanged? And they're like, no more hanging today. They're like, we were fine like 3 minutes ago, but no, it's God's work. No more hangings for the rest of our life. We're done. They walk away, and I don't know. It's fine, because then everybody walks away. I think the Galagos is like laughing or crying like a hyena. I don't know what's going on with his crying, but it's insane. And
he just dodged death, so you gotta give him that.
Yeah, he's like, he's walking away. Yeah. But no, Sykes
Char.
Yeah.
He's a mom bad.
Oh dear God.
No, but Sykes picks up the rope and is really confused, and then he looks at the coins, and then three random girls pop up, or three random kids. I'm assuming Galagos kids or whatever. They're like, he's like, "Hey, here's your money back, you sons of bitches."
Make it rain.
Yeah,
basically, yeah.
Make it sprinkle.
It's like, take your fucking change back. And then he starts laughing and he walks away, and that's the end of the episode.
Here's your change, you filthy animal.
Exactly. Nice cheese pizza just for me. But that's like, we ran through the second act really quickly, but that's the end of the act. It's like, or the end of the episode. Like, what do you guys think? Like, it's nothing really much happens till the rope snaps, and like, what is the meaning behind that? What do you think is happening? Like, do you think it's just a twist of fate, a luck? Is it magic dust? Like, is it cocaine? Like, what exactly happened? Did the sheriff, like, cut the rope a little bit before he was hanged, and that's what happened? Like, I don't know. It doesn't really explain it. It's like, hey, here's what happens. If you don't like it, go fuck yourself. Tune in next week.
Because
we
anal.
always we always talk about you don't want to, and I think we ran into this with, was it the lateness of the hour?
Yeah.
Like, stuff happens and they don't, like, you don't want it to be explained, but you also have to have some.
Nan Adams in a car just runs into him, makes him drown or some shit. I don't know what's going on in that episode.
Exactly. But no, the lateness of the hour was the one with the mechanical, where it turns out the daughter is
yeah, I don't know what's happened in that episode either.
Yeah. But I think that, or what, yeah, or maybe it was The Trouble with Templeton. Anyway, there is that balance of, you don't want to be told what's going on. Like, you don't want it to be spoon-fed, but you also need to have an idea of where things are going. And I think the idea is that the faith, like, faith of one person can change things, and that the magic did come from the grandfather's love and whatnot, and that saved his son to some extent. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all I came to.
Yeah, I know. It's weird. It feels like there's a lot there, but then it feels like there's nothing there. It's really, I don't fucking know. Can we talk about the 60 millimeter shrine? No, I'm kidding.
I get where they're coming from with it, but I don't think we're supposed to know. I think that's the question. That's the thread right there. Was it magic, or was it just coincidence? Did weird shit happen sometimes? Or was it actually somehow some type of divine intervention? Who knows? This is one of those episodes that could be 100% grounded in reality. All of this, everything that happened in this episode could happen in reality.
Yeah, because that rope could have been faulty. It could have been like slightly cut by when everybody's not looking, they're looking at the
dry rod or something. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
And I mean, or you could look at the episode and say it was supernatural. It had some type of intervention, some divine intervention, and the gods decided no, not today, and everybody took that as a sign. That's kind of one of the neat things about the episodes, I think, is that they did leave. And that's the difference between this and The Trouble with Templeton. The trouble with The Trouble with Templeton was that it gave you a scenario and then gave you absolutely nothing to go on. There were no questions to ask. The question is, what the fuck just happened? Why did that happen? Not, was it this? Was it that? It was, I don't fucking know, because that didn't make any sense. This one, what happened. Yeah. I mean, we understand it. And now the question is, do you think it was magical dust, or was it just coincidence? So that's a good, I do think that's a good thread. That's a good place to leave to be ambiguous and ambiguity, because you understand what's going on. You just, maybe there's a piece of it you don't get, and it gives you enough to go on to say, to talk about on internet threads and stuff, and say, hey, do you think it was this? Oh, I think it was this because that. I think it was that because this.
It's kind of like The Shining.
Yeah. Is this the question? The real question is this episode compelling enough as a whole for us to sit here and talk about, do we think it was magic or coincidence? I don't think so. I don't really care that it was, if it was magic or just coincidence. I mean, for me, it was an episode. It did. I mean, it wasn't bad. I didn't think it was a terrible episode, but I didn't think it was a great one. It was, as I said about the first, I hesitate to call it the first half, but the first part of the episode, it was an episode. It happened. There you go.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like, that's like when I was watching the movie I was watching tonight. I'm like, did I like this movie? Is it good? It has some interesting moments, but is it something like I guarantee you none of us are ever gonna go back and watch this episode.
No, not remotely.
Like,
no,
it's that's the sad state of some of these Twilight Zone episodes. You just, like, you'll go back and watch, Perchance to Dream or Nightmare, Stop Willoughby or something like that. I mean, you go back and watch Perchance to Dream and people were like all over, but you'll never go back and watch The Trouble with Templeton, The Fever, or Thing About Machine.
Well, and that's the thing is, this could have been, they would have just had to tweak just a few things. This could have been an interesting episode. I don't necessarily think if they had delved deeper into some of the stuff, it would have been like just, season 2's top 10 or anything, but it could have been a solid episode that had us talking about. I mean, we spent more time talking about anal raccoons and just side bullshit this time because there's just nothing to talk about with this episode.
Right.
What you see is what you get. The only big question, the only thing to talk about is, was it a magic thing or was it just a coincidence? And I don't think we really care enough to talk because the rest of the episode is just kind of like, shit happens. And I mean, they had all these opportunities that they set up to explore some interesting things about this story or the people that inhabit it, and they just didn't. It's like they actively said, no, we're not doing that. We just want to get to the magic dust that may or may not be magic.
Well, and even that was kind of haphazard. Like, you'd think there would be more build up around that, and it was just kind of, I mean, and obviously he was looking to make a quick buck when he saw the magic, when he saw that the grandpa was kind of like, oh, luck and magic and blah blah blah, and I don't know, like I don't know.
I mean, I guess you could say that maybe this occurrence, and I may be reaching here, but coincidence, if we take it the coincidence route, either way, whatever caused this, perhaps this is the town is on an upswing. These people decided no more violence. We want to, we want to move forward with life. No more death today. And then that guy, the snake oil salesman, he felt to be generous for a moment and throw the money on the ground for the kids. And maybe everybody's headed in a better direction now because of this event. This town is going to thrive, and it got, a glimpse of something better than what there's been, some type of pseudo happiness. So now they're like, hey, everybody's going to start moving in a better direction. And then I guess the question becomes, what? Because they're all going to relate it to divine intervention. That's why they're going to. So everything that happens to them after this will be linked to that. I mean, is it, it was just a coincidence and led these people to believe that, but because through this faith of something bigger out there is what led them to have better lives? Or is it that actually is what it was? It was some type of thing and their faith is true and blah, 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 blah. I don't know. Like I said, that's reaching. That's about all I could derive from this episode. And that's a reach.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm like this.
Yeah, it's just like
that's where I leave with this episode. There's not really.
I wasn't offended by it, but
no, it's not bad, but it's just like it's just there. Do you agree, Triv?
No, I agree. I've said it a couple times, I guess, and I don't mean to repeat myself, but there was a basis for what could have been more. But the question is, in a 25-minute show, did they look at where the story was taking them and go, well, we could go these directions, but it's gonna make it go over, or we're not gonna have time to tell these stories properly? I honestly don't know. Like, the companion really didn't have much to say. There wasn't a lot of trivia on this. It was just kind of it was a solid episode, but it's an unmemorable one is what it comes to for me.
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with it, but there's not a lot that makes it stand out,
Very middle of the road. Probably around 14.
It's like a B- student. It's a good thing, but it's like
middle of the road. Very 14, I think. Yeah.
Very.
But yeah, like I said, they want me to acknowledge what something I'm not acknowledging.
Why not?
I don't speak English.
14.
Anyways, so with that said, we're just kind of
14.
Don't you mean
I need to bring back Alex. I gotta bring back Alex.
Yeah, you totally should.
I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know how to say 14.
I'm trying to think. Let's say
Dorothy.
14 is 14.
Cortez. I can't speak.
14.
Cortez.
This is why I have Jacob on, so
Cortez.
So with that said, we'll end it there, and we'll have Jacob do the closing narration.
It was a very small, misery-laden village on the day of a hanging and of little historical consequence. And if there's any moral to it at all, let's say that in any quest for magic and any search for sorcery, witchery, legerdemain, first check the human heart. For inside this deep place is a wizardry that costs far more than a few pieces of gold. Tonight's case in point, in the Twilight Zone.
See, I have to say something. His opening narration, closing narration are much more entertaining than the actual story.
In this
So what
case,
the hell?
yes.
Yeah, what the hell are
Yeah.
you thinking, Rod? No, I'm kidding. We love you, Rod, even though you're not alive.
Did he write this one?
Yes. Yes, he did.
Mm.
Well, can't win them all.
Nope, not even
He didn't
remotely.
lose it. Can't lose them all. He didn't lose this one either, but yeah. You got to have a middle to have a first and a last.
Very
so
true.
there
Very
you
true.
go.
Oh, so we
Yeah.
do have one other lexicon thing, and I know you said the pig that sells trinkets at funerals. The sheriff near the open also says, "I don't talk to dog meat,"
Yes, I got that on.
as
that.
he was talking to Sykes.
I like it. I don't talk to dog meat.
Actually might be
I like
better
it.
than
I'll
pigs.
allow it.
Trinket
I'll allow it.
funeral.
I'll allow both because we haven't had many sexicon words this season. I used to like to get at least one per episode.
I've brought up a couple, but they're not necessarily like sexicon as well.
Yeah, I mean,
Well-
we got some on here. We got probably about 10, 11, 1, 2, 3,
See, the
4,
problem-
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 after today.
The problem with this season, not enough sexicon, not enough mirrors, and not enough Nan Adams. That's the problem.
Is it just me or season 2? It's had so far. It has had some bangers in there. It's had some really good ones, but it's had a lot of just mediocre ones too.
Yeah.
So far. I know that we're gonna have like a string of like really good ones, but I feel like season 2 has had.
There's a lot of filler.
Yeah, not so much bad. I mean, there's been some bad ones too. Our worst one was in season 2 so far, but there've been a lot of just kind of, like this one, just kind of like, yes, it happened.
I mean, here's the episodes I know will be good. The Invaders, 22. I think we'll enjoy Odyssey of Flight 33. I heard Prime Mover's pretty good.
Will the Real Martian please stand up is awesome.
That The Silence is really good. I hear Shadow Play is one of the best episodes in the series. Obsolete Man is one of my favorite episodes ever. So we still have some really good ones, but they're just
the one with the people in the little people in the trash.
No, that's
next season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Alex gonna be listening to that. You son of a bitch, stop calling it a trash can.
In the bin.
It's a bin, yes.
A trash bin.
With no windows and no
Ooh.
doors. I mean, we might find some other good ones. Like I said, Odyssey of Flight 33 is pretty good. Yeah. So anyways, so that's Dust. That's season 1 or season 2, episode 12 of the Twilight Zone.
Dust is dust.
Yep.
Dust in the wind.
Wind.
What are we?
Turd in the
But
wind.
dust.
Oh, we also have
In the
Mr.
wind.
Dingle the Strong.
Yay.
Mr. Dingle.
Yeah, Dingle. Yeah. Dingle. Yeah. Dingle.
Holy shit. Mr. Dingle the Song has Burgess Meredith, Don Rickles, James Westerfield, Michael Fox, Greg Irwin. I guess that's it. There's a lot of people in that. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and wrap this up with our Twilight Zone rankings list, the greatest list known to man since sliced bread and dingles
Blah, blah,
and
blah.
berries and
Biscuits.
talking vaginas apparently and anal raccoons and no sir, I don't like it, that type of stuff. So is this better than Mr. Denton on Doomsday?
I was actually thinking that it was probably be right around there, honestly.
That's the Burgess Meredith one, right?
No, that one was pretty
No.
early on. Guy
like the
gets
third episode.
like a wishing, or he gets a potion that's supposed to help him shoot straight,
Oh, yeah,
and his
the other
opponent
Western.
gets the same. Yeah.
Yeah, third episode of the series.
I don't no. I know you guys really didn't like that one. That was
I
before
didn't
was
mind
on.
it. It wasn't like awful. It just
It was
It-
very middle of the road too. I
Yeah.
think this one was actually, that one was probably a bit more entertaining, honestly, because this one really nothing happens until the end, and when something does happen, nothing much happens. It's just I mean,
Okay, so here's a question. Is this in the Four of Us Are Dying in the Fever range? Is this higher than that? Is this better than Judgment Night?
Yes, I did
Well,
not
I
like
think
Judgment Night.
What about a thing about machines?
Yes, I picked more for me. I picked more out bad about a thing about machines as it was going on. See, that's the thing about this one. It's not great, But it doesn't have bad. Those I picked out bad stuff as we were watching. I was like, this isn't good. This one, it was never like the worst thing about this one is it was just bland. It was just there.
Yeah.
So, and that could be bad. I mean, but those had things that very much like drug them down, in my opinion.
I think I would.
Walter Jameson.
I mean,
Well, I know
everything's
Trev
better than
loves
Walter
that one.
Jameson. So
How we didn't put that at the bottom of the list, I'll never know. The way you talk about it, Trev.
well, it's one of those things where over the course of time, I've gotten to hate it more. I don't know why. The thing
You
is,
hate
like,
these cans.
the thing is, I think like the Mighty Casey is more fun than, or more interesting than this one. But Long Live Walter Jameson, I guess it's kind of a perchance to dream scenario where like I really like I enjoyed for what it was. The Mighty Casey is better than Long Live Walter Jameson.
You know what's funny? This episode is like the lateness of the hour. They're both very bland episodes.
Yeah, that might actually be a good place for it then. Like 38, 39.
Lateness of the Hours of the Robots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The tape episode. Or the first tape episode.
I like that one more than this.
So,
I'd be willing. I mean, I'd be okay with that 38, 39, 40 area. I honestly thought it'd be higher than that. Because I was also looking up here at like King 9 will not return. Yeah, I think I'm cool. Me, myself, personally, I don't know where you guys feel, but 38, 39, 40 in that neighborhood, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
I
So
didn't. I think I liked Mighty Casey more than this.
So maybe put it at 41.
I
So
hate to
above
go
a thing
so
about
low.
machines.
Yeah,
it's gonna
honestly,
go
I
below
would
Walter
probably.
Jameson if you do.
I liked Walter Jameson more than this one. I hated the end of Walter Jameson. I did not. The last 8 minutes, 5 to 8 minutes of that episode, I didn't like. But the first part where he was like talking to the guy and all that, I did enjoy some of that. I know Triv hate it, but
It's fine. I don't. It's not an active hate. It's more of a seething over the course of time. It gets stronger and whatnot. Ask me in a year and I'll be like, God damn, Walter Jameson, you stupid son of a bitch.
I love you.
gotcha.
I love
I
you.
go
Hey, he turns to dust.
Yes.
41.
I'm cool with 41.
I'm
So below
leaning
Mighty
towards
Casey.
41.
Yeah.
Above Thing About Machines, below Mighty Casey.
Yes.
Yeah, because I think I'd rather watch the Mighty Casey again than this one.
Same.
I think okay. I think I'm alright with that. Like I said, it's between.
Man, I figured it'd be higher than that. But hey,
I think
that's what you get for
I
not
think
having
we're
anything.
I think we're just bored of the episode. Like next week we'll be like, why is it so low?
Yeah.
Well,
and logic in the moment versus logic, later on does make a difference.
And I feel as if we're going to fill in this because I feel like there's a gulf right around in this area right here, around 40, like the later between 35 and 40, there is this large gulf somewhere where it's like the quality drastically drops right in there.
Yeah.
So I feel like
Well, that's why I brought up
under
that. Well, I brought up that
this.
last week with Alex when she wanted to put Night in the Meek at like 31 or something like that. I'm like, yeah, but we have Mr. Beavis and the Chaser up there. She's like, oh yeah, that makes more sense. Put it above those two. So
Well,
Yeah,
and she
'cause-
and most people look at our list like I think a lot of personal lists, like you have your reasons for where things go. And you can look back and go, why did we put it there? And then you can look back and go, oh yeah, that's why. But in the moment it makes sense for that episode based on conversation, which are conversations, and I think most of the time that they play in as much as what the episode itself is giving, and what we take from it.
I do think we should revisit some episodes at some point. Maybe not anytime soon, but I think maybe we should all have one episode we
Oh, good Lord.
revisit if everybody else is on board with it. See, in my case, I would be able to revisit one. It would be a true revisit because I wasn't here for it.
That is
So,
true.
well, we'd have to
makes sense
revisit
to
like
revisit.
11 episodes or 10 episodes at that point.
No, I don't care about all of them. Just one.
And that
But no,
one episode
that
is
might be
Monster to
neat.
Do on Maple Street.
That might be neat later on down the road after we've seen a bunch of them and like things are more placed. I mean, just saying. Maybe, and I mean, yes,
Maybe
I'm
like
talking about
halfway
Chance to
point?
Dream. Yeah, or
Yeah.
maybe
Oh,
like
I thought
there's
we
one
were-
that
I
you're
thought
like,
we
hey,
were-
I want to
I th-
revisit.
Hey, I asked this question a long time ago. You guys are like, oh no, that would break the integrity of the list. I'm like, I agree.
We
Well,
don't
maybe
have
we don't even-
integrity anymore.
And maybe we don't necessarily move it. Maybe that's something we decide we're not going to move it. but maybe we'll say, hey, if we were rating this now, this is where we put it. I don't know, kind of a honorary. It could be like a little spot off to the side, an asterisk next to
There
it.
you go. There you go.
That episode is Monsters of Joe Maple Street.
Oh, 1 point or one place. Before it's said and done, it'll be down around 5 or 6, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's end this episode out. So new number 41 is Dust. Yeah, unfortunately it could have been better, but number 1, Eye of the Beholder. Number 48, Trouble with Templeton. Next episode is
Number 14 is Still Perchance to Dream.
Oh
It is.
yeah, bow. Check it out.
We will see.
So the next episode is season 2, episode 13, called Back There. Think if I read this right, it deals with Abraham Lincoln and John Wilkes Booth. I don't remember this episode at all. So
It's time travel.
Yep. Abraham
Yeah.
Lincoln, or Abraham and the Egg Sandwich Lincoln.
yeah. It's directed by David Orrick McDermott, written by Rod Serling, music Jerry Goldsmith, Russell Johnson, Paul Hartman, Noah Morlow, Raymond Greenleaf, all star in this episode. So we'll see when it comes out. If it's any good.
It's
I
an
don't know.
interesting premise.
Yeah, very.
Yeah.
Especially
be
for that
worse.
time and place.
Right. So yeah, like I said, another episode most of us don't know much about. So anyways, that'll do it. That'll be a take on, of course, season 2, episode 12 of Dust. Jacob, I usually go to Trip first, but Jacob,
Aw.
you love things with eyeballs, and
Yeah?
you're a lover of soldering, because you like to solder things and contraptions. And where do you solder things at? Where's your channel at? How do you solder? I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm really
I
tired.
saw it
people.
right here, but if you're
No,
interested in my
it-
content, where sometimes
Yeah,
I
yeah.
solder things on streams, typically I talk about movies. You can check me out at Jacob Anders Reviews, which is my YouTube channel. I'm also over on Twitter at RedNeville2, where you can hear me talk about my YouTube channel. So I would prefer you go to my YouTube channel, where I also have a Tweakly show, the Almost Awesome show that Nick joins me for almost every episode twice a week, and every now and then Triv comes on in as well. And that is every Wednesday and Saturday at 2:00 Central Time. For now, I am considering changing those days, tweaking them slightly, which I said I would be doing in the beginning of that show. Possibly, we'll see. Who knows? But for now, every Wednesday and Saturday, come and check us out for usually around 2 hours. We bullshit and talk about this week's movies, entertainment world going ons.
It is
and
pretty
stuff.
funny. Well worth a watch.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh,
Especially when you're on there.
Aw. I can't watch and be on it at the same time, so
I mean, you can. We have mirrors. You can watch.
that is true. That is true.
You can be on it and watch.
Hey,
Yeah.
you're staring at us with one camera. You have another camera to monitor in the back, so you can do 2 things at once.
I can, but for
Fair
some
enough.
reason this camera's looking at the back of my head, so
Well, I mean, that's what they do. They like head. So
Got a camera in the
Um,
back, camera in
camera in
the
the
front.
front. Yeah.
but Triv, you have a channel. You do things sometimes. What are
Yeah,
those things you do, and
sometimes.
where can you find those things that aren't soldering?
Well, occasionally, as of late, I upload to my theater here on YouTube, which is Trivial Theater. Stop by, say hi for a wide selection of random, obscure, and straight up movie reviews and random collabs with quite a variety of interesting individuals. You can also find me on Twitter at Trivial Theater.
Excellent. Do that, people. Find their shit. Watch it.
Do it.
Go
Find
to
his
it.
shit
Do
too.
it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
You
I
can
was
do
gonna
it.
do it.
Do it.
You can do it
But,
all night long.
Get to the chopper. Anyways, with that said, you can.
What
find me
about
at Movie
you?
Emporium.
I was gonna. Okay, yeah, sorry.
Okay, let's reverse that. Say it again. Triv.
Go check out this guy over here, cause yeah, he's got things in an emporium. It's not a pleasure emporium,
The pleasure.
but gosh darn it,
emporium.
it's a movie emporium, and that's a better thing anyway. And I don't know why I'm going with the Wisconsin accent, eh? Take it
Yeah,
away,
just kind of
Nick.
faded. You just kind of went there,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh yeah, I like the
yeah,
hot
Yeah,
dish.
don't you know, Nick?
Oh,
Tell us about the pleasure emporium you got over there. I don't just went
yeah.
Irish too.
That reminds me of
Such a
I Love
pleasure
You, Man.
emporium.
Slap in the bits.
Where's the shillelagh? What the hell was
Anyways.
I don't even know what that is.
Where's his shillelagh?
We last over here talking about some craziness.
Well, yeah. What else did you expect?
Oh my God.
Leprechaun.
So as
Leprechaun, where can we find your content?
I am
Your
the
fucking
leprechaun.
content.
So as they go through like I Love You Man and Wayne's World, you can find me at Pleasure Emporium. I mean Movie Emporium, where I have all that great content like talking bees and honking for Jesuses and stuff like that, and all the content's on Movie Emporium. So anyways, with that said, we also have audio feeds like Anchor and iTunes and SoundCloud and Google Play and Amazon Music and everything else that you can imagine. It's on there probably. So with that said, we're gonna head out, and for myself, Triv, and Jacob, we'll see you guys next time in the Twilight Zone. Right us out.
Party on, Wayne.
Party on, Garth.
Woo!
But basically this leads
Bunch
to
of
the
goddamn
kid.
panty waste in this podcast.
Wait, did someone just fart?
No, I just went
I was like,
raspberry.
I know I'm tired, but I think someone just farted.
Swing.
Swing.